my name is Bridget Gibbs, and I am here with one of my students, and he has been so awesome to volunteer and be my victim today. And so, Jordan, if you will introduce yourself.
I'm Jordan Tolbert from Fort Worth, Texas. I'm a professional basketball player, as well as Bridget.
And he has been so wonderful to be here with us today to do this tutorial for you. And so, because one thing that I always want our students to know, and anybody to know, everybody's practice is gonna look different. So that's why I don't like to try to demo a lot in class, because then everybody's kind of focused on the outside of how the pose is supposed to look, and it's more about how it feels in your body. And so just showing how much different poses can look, and so you can adjust accordingly. So we've got this lovely man here to do this with us, and his practice is absolutely beautiful. So, but as you can see, he's bigger than the average bear. So, and so this way you can kind of see a completely different body style than you're used to seeing in most yoga classes today. So you usually will see little bitty people like me. So I'm going to have him demonstrate a downward facing dog, and then I'm going to kind of talk you through it and see. So go ahead and get into your down dog. He has no idea what he came in for. He's just amazingly volunteered. And so go ahead and come to a plank position. And so most people, their down dogs are really, really short. And so we want to even kind of press our students' heels more forward, and then have them activate the quads, and see how he's pulling himself more forward. And then when I tell people to go into a half push-up, you want to even go even more forward and come halfway down. And then that is about where you want your half push-up to look. Look at that, that's awesome. Okay, go ahead and come back to down dog from there. And so see how much different your down dog is than when you started?
Yeah.
And so everybody tries to make their down dog too short. Down dog too short. And so we want them to kind of lengthen that out a little bit. And so maybe we'll cue pressing of the heels. If they're able to get their heels down on the mat, which is, most people can't do this for quite a while, and that's okay. But we do want to try to get as much straight legs as we can. And if they can, then we want them to maybe try to lift up on the toes, which kind of activate, so lift your toes up.
Oh.
Yeah, and see how that kind of activated the front of your legs? When you lifted up your toes? Yeah. Kind of did some quad activation there. And then we'll cue them to kind of pull their shoulder blades down and back, but then they're pressing forward. So, and then you're just still looking at either your knees or your belly button. And so this is a beautiful down dog. You see how he's just kind of pulled through his chest. He's very open. But some people will be a little bit more bent in the knees, and they won't have their heels down, and they're kind of going to be like this. And so you really want to cue as much as this as they can, but that doesn't always happen, and so that's okay. And so go ahead and slowly step to the top of your mat. Woo, look at that. And so go ahead and go into a forward fold. And so in a forward fold, you want to take a pretty deep bend in the knees, just because you want to kind of release in the low back, but not that deep. So kind of straighten up just a little bit. And you're just going to try to relax the whole top of your body. Just turning your head yes and no. And then reaching all the way up to mountain. So arms come out to the side, palms facing each other. And we're pressing our palms together, shoulder blades rolling down and back. So we really want to take those shoulders down and back, yes, away from the ears. And then trying to engage quads, pressing your heels down into the mat. Our mountain is solid. And so I always tell everybody, reach. And then but see how you reach? Yes, keep those shoulder blades down and back. Wonderful. And then go ahead and forward fold for me. And then inhale to your flat back. And so you really want to cue them to pull back in those shoulder blades. See how straight his spine is here? So can you demonstrate a really deep low back sway in your back? I don't know if you could do that. So like here, where you're kind of, yes. Okay, so you'll see some people do this. And we want to really cue them to kind of pull forward and straighten that out as much as they can. We don't want this deep sway in the back, as well as we don't want the deep sway here. So we're always trying to get a flat back. So come back up to your half. Yep, and then we want to cue pulling back in the shoulder blades, and then exhale, forward fold. And then exhale, step back to your half push-up. So they'll go into plank, half push-up. Inhale, upward facing, coming onto the tops of your feet, so down, upward facing. Yes, and so see, and his feet are actually pretty good for a lot of my athletes. So they have a really hard time coming onto the tops of the feet and the ankles. They don't have the mobility. You're doing fantastic. Good, good, good. And see how his legs are up off there. He's pulling his chest through. And we just want just a slight look up towards the ceiling, not a big crank on the neck. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Good job. And so when you're teaching, you want to remember that the inhales take you up and the exhales take you down. And so, and we always want to cue that the mouth is closed because we're trying to control the breathing in our practice. And so, working with our nervous system. And so, stepping to the top of your mat. Inhale, flat back. One more time for me. Perfect. See, perfect. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Arms come out to the side. Palms press together. Sorry. I forget how big your arms are. I know, I was like, there's an easy to hit the ceiling. And so, one thing you want to cue is you want their arms to go out to the side. So go ahead and rest your arms down for a second. So if they don't go out to the side and palms up, a lot of times they'll end up doing it this way, and then they kind of crank in their back. So come forward and put your palms together. And so a lot of times they'll end up dumping in the back because they'll pull their arms back. And so that's why, so that's why we want to cue arms out to the side. Yes, and that way we know we're not trying to dump in the back. We're not trying to add any more pressure on our low back. And then reach both arms over to your right side, pressing in your left. So this is a really hard pose for a lot of people. If they have been on phones or sitting a lot, they'll lose breath here. And so, but you want to keep cueing, like, see how he's not cheating and grabbing thumbs. We really want to try to get as much of this spinal rotation to the side as we can, and then switching over to the other side. You want to cue them to pull back that right shoulder, looking under the right shoulder. Breathe. And then inhale back to center, exhale forward fold. And then inhale flat back, pull back in your shoulder blades, and exhale step back to your half push-up. And so that's one exhalation all the way down to your half push-up. So half push-up. Half push-up. Inhale, upward facing. Pull your chest through. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good job.
It's like, I ain't doing push-ups.
Half of a one, and a little baby one. Okay, and so take your heels together. And we were just, so heels, just heels.
Oh, just heels.
Mm-hmm. And then bend your knees out wide.
You want to do a squat with this?
Yep. And then look between your hands. And then step or jump to the top of your mat. Perfect. And so that is a cue that we will use to get them jumped up to the top of their mat, and that will help them later on their handstand and everything. And then inhale, half lift, pull back in your shoulder blades. Exhale, forward fold. And then bend your knees deeply, touch the floor, and reach up and sink down. And so palms together because it's harder. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get our spine up as high as we can. Yes, and then we want to do just a little micro supination here so we're not dumping in the low back. Yes. So yep, so not too much. So you don't want like a huge where you're sucking through, but you just want it where it's not dumping into your low back and you're taking it more into your quads. You feel the difference now? And then how your back is coming up, and then you're just taking your eyes up towards your
hey.
yeah. Mm-hmm. And then exhale, forward fold. Good job. Inhale, flat back through the nose. And exhale, step back to your half push-up.
Half push-up.
And so we're going to exhale all the way down to the half push-up. Inhale, upward facing. Pull your chest through your arms.
Oh.
Awesome. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good. And so from here, he's going to angle his left foot at a 45, and then use that momentum and your core to step your right foot between your hands. Perfect. And then come up into your warrior one. Back heel stays down, toes are forward, arms are forward, shoulders are forward. So you want to cue their hips to come forward, their shoulders coming forward. And then you want to make sure that the alignment is good. So you want their knees to be directly over their ankle. You don't want it to come back further like this way. So sometimes people will be about right here, but you want to try to cue it to come a little bit more forward and just giving a little gentle like tap so they know to keep coming forward. Perfect. And then come really forward. So this is what we don't want. We don't want their toes to keep coming forward because then we're compromising the joints. And then exhale all the way down to your half push-up. Inhale, upward facing, pull your chest through.
Oh, yeah, my direction's right.
Exhale, downward facing dog.
I was struggling there for a while. Like up is down, down is up.
Down is up and up is down. And so now angling your right foot at a 45. And so do you feel that difference of when you angle it and then you take it, that core, and step it between your hands. So we really want to activate our core when we're stepping between our hands. And so again, we want our toes facing forward. So we're going to angle those feet forward. So a good cue, you can use your foot and just keep telling them to come more forward or press back more in the heel. And then you want to press so much to where you're twisting those hips forward. Breathe, and you're lifting as you're pressing down. And then exhale all the way down to your half push-up. Using your core to lift that leg. Yes. Inhale, upward facing. Pull your chest through. Exhale, downward facing dog. Woo! He's really getting it today for me. All right, so step your right foot between your hands, anchoring your back foot parallel now with your mat. So warrior two. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. All right. And so you want to cue their foot to be really straight. So you'll maybe come out. Yep, perfect. Because you want it straight, like in a straight line with the mat. And then again, you want to cue them to bring their knee kind of out towards their pinky, or even cue them to take their toes and step them out a little bit. And that forces opening in the hips and in the groin a little bit more. And then you're going to reach your arms out straight. He's got these crazy long arms. And so I always tell everybody, you're reaching, you're not just sinking. You want to keep those shoulders up over your hips and breathe and sink lower. Take your elbow on the inside of your knee.
Which one?
Your right one, sorry. Right elbow on the inside of your right knee. And so press your knee away. So take it and press it away. Coming up into a, just reach your arm. Yes, and so this is our side angle lunge. And so we basically want a ramp all the way down. So we want to cue that they're pressing on the outside and they're basically all the way up. And he's pressing into his elbow to twist his body more, maybe even trying to lift his chest up off his leg and twist. And then coming back up into your warrior two. Good job.
Fire!
My leg is on fire! And then go ahead and straighten your front leg. And then reach down with your right hand and grab your big toe if you can. Yes, and then step on your fingers with your big toe and press on your, so hook it like this. Step on your fingers and press onto your big toe. Yes, and then twist, coming up into a triangle, so straighten this leg. Mm-hmm. And then you're getting the feeling that somebody's lifting you up here, and you're trying to pull your pelvis forward, trying to fit in between a plane of glass. So we're really trying to work on these. You see how they're going crazy in his legs, so it's perfect. because we're trying to strengthen and lengthen these ligaments, not just lengthen them, we're trying to strengthen them as well. And so coming back up into your warrior two. Very nice. And then go ahead and take a break for a second. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, it's like when you actually know like the cueing of like everything, it's like, holy moly. It's like, I'm gonna kill her. Yeah, I know. Yes. So go ahead and
See, last time I did left foot, right?
yes. So step your left foot through now. Look at you, vinyasa, and upward facing. So inhale takes us up, and exhale takes us down. And stepping the left foot through, coming up into your warrior two. We're all good here. And so again, we want to cue everything kind of pressing on the outer end, and you can see kind of muscles activating. You can see everything going on in his feet because we're trying to not only work on groin and hip flexibility, but ankle mobility. So there's a lot going on in a warrior two. So I just wanted you guys to see the front part, and then so just take your elbow on the inside of your knee again, kind of pressing into the knee, and then reaching that arm up and over so they can see a front view of your beautiful ramp and beautiful side angle lunge. And then go ahead and come back up into your warrior two. Straighten your leg, and then reaching towards your toe, pressing your and if you can't, so on this side, well, let's go ahead and take you to your shin. So say that your student doesn't have the mobility, and so they're just going to go to their shin, because we're still getting in the same pose. We still want to straighten that leg, and keep trying to twist like we're trying to fit in between a plane of glass, So wherever they can reach is fine, and then they'll slowly start to work down, and then again they're going to get the feeling that somebody's lifting them here, and so it's more about the length and the lift. So you can go down further, and then you just want to keep twisting. Perfect. And then go ahead and stand up. And then I'm going to have you just step your back foot halfway up and toes forward.
Okay.
So you're going to be here, and this is called an intensive side stretch. And so you want to. So I don't know if that's a short stance for him. You see the difference in our stances. Just
supposed to be closer.
Get a little bit closer, a little bit. So do you feel comfortable to where your hips can stay forward?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but see the difference in our stance just because our feet are different, our legs are.
Well, you're taller than me.
I know, I'm so much taller. So mine's got to be a lot bigger. And so if you can you, so I'm just going to show you. So reverse prayer is this. And this is ultimately what you want to be in the intense side angle lunge. But it is more of a display of flexibility. It's not really how you get there. So your wrist would be this way, remember? We tried to.
Oh,
yeah. And so it's more of a, no, it's okay. So it's more of a display of flexibility than it is, you wouldn't want to try to get flexible in that pose though. So another thing you can cue is they can grab opposite hands. So can you hook your fingers to grab your hands? Perfect. So some people cannot do this, but he can, and then it's going to be a little bit more intense as he goes down. And so you want to cue that they're kind of trying to rip their mat in half. So you're trying to take this leg out and externally rotate it and internally rotate this leg and really screw your legs into the ground. And then you're going to hinge at the hips with your straight back. So you're still going to continue to pull back in your shoulder blades. So it's more about the lengthening of the spine than it is about how far he's going down. And you want to make sure their hips stay straight. Yep. And then your gaze is about right at your toes, or maybe even a little bit in front of your toes. And so yes, perfect. You want to make sure their hips stay forward And so as he's going down, he's lengthening in the spine, but he's also opening up in the shoulders quite a bit. Yes, and you want to keep cueing their spine lengthening. I always tell my students, get the feeling that somebody's got a string and they're like pulling your head. Don't mess up that beautiful do he's got there, but they're kind of pulling the head. And so slowly inhale, coming back up. And so release your bind. And so we're going to do a twisted side angle. So now he's going to take his right hand on the outside of his left foot. And then slowly take your gaze up towards your right hand. Yes, that one. Yes, the other one. And so again here, you want to still cue that those hips are staying forward, and you really, really got to squeeze those legs apart. You see how unstable? Yeah, because this will make it very, very unstable. You really have to screw those legs into the ground to not get, to not lose your balance. Yeah. Yes. Very nice. Step to the top of your mat, forward fold.
That's aggressive. You gotta get aggressive in some poses.
Yeah, you really do. And you just gotta kind of sit in them, even though they're uncomfortable, because you can tell just after a few breaths how much you open up in just that little amount of time. And then the more that you don't freak out in your poses and you just try to, I always tell everybody where your energy, and where you focus your energy, that's where it's gonna grow. So if you're focusing on the struggle and the pain, that's what you're going to focus on. That's, you know. But if you focus on, oh my gosh, I'm growing, I'm feeling more space in my body, you know, just focusing on your breath, a lot more things will happen better for you that way. So, so go ahead and step your left foot back behind you now.
Straight, right?
Yeah, but just kind of angled out like we just did. So we're going to do the other side. And so just take them a little bit more forward. And this is a good cue you can use, because we don't want to bend over to adjust our students, because that'll just be a lot on our back and it's just kind of awkward. We're just bending all over the place. So you want to kind of squat down and just kind of cue certain things, or you just touch and just let them know, okay, yeah, bring it in more, or so make sure you're squatting. And then straightening out this leg. So again, so we're acting like we're ripping our mat. So both legs are completely engaged. You're externally rotating your front foot and externally rotating your back foot. And then just acting like you're squeezing it apart. And so on this side, I'm just going to demonstrate. So a lot of people can't grab opposite hands. So they can either grab opposite elbows, like this, and then they'll just keep working their arms back further and further. So keep trying to yeah. And so each inhale and exhale, maybe he'll keep trying to work his arms back behind him and opening more into the chest and shoulders. And another way is, so go ahead and get into opposite hands again. Yeah, on the other side. And then so say he can't reach. A lot of times you can give him a towel and then they can kind of work their way down, because this is a really, really good way to open them up in their chest and shoulders. And so, but go ahead and grab opposite elbows for this one. And then engaging your legs and then hinging at the hips, starting to come forward into your intense side stretch. Keeping that leg straight, breathe. Yes. And so a lot of cueing, you can just kind of touch them in certain spots, and so he knows, oh, I've got to, adjust on this side, adjust on this side. A lot of times you want to let them find a lot of their own practice, but if you can just kind of give them a little touch cues and let them know where to kind of adjust, because you want to keep that spine straight. You don't want one hip up or the other hip up. And then slowly come all the way up. And now take your left hand on the outside. We'll try the shin on this side. And so say we have somebody that's not as flexible, which is constantly. He just happens to be a very flexible big yogi. And so he can just grab up there and still twist. And again, he's really having to activate those legs, as you can see, to twist. And then especially once you take your gaze away and up, you start to lose your balance as well that way. So, and then slowly go ahead and come back up. How you doing? And go ahead and step to the top of your mat and forward fold. So take your feet about hip width distance. So go ahead and turn this way for me. And so taking your feet about hip width distance, and then you're going to take your 2-piece fingers, because you remember loving and hook your big toes. And then bending your knees deeply, taking your chest onto your legs. You're going to inhale, look up, pull up. And then as you exhale, start to lower down, leaning your body weight forward. And then activating the core to really keep pulling your chest down. And if you need to, keeping a bend in the knee, because we're trying to kind of release in the low back. So this is our yin yang pose. His legs are just really going crazy, and the top half is just kind of relaxed. And so turning your head yes and no, and then pull your shoulder blades down and back. So we're not wearing our shoulders as earrings, yes. Winging the arms out to the side, turning your head yes and no. Very good, and then just bending your knees deeply, releasing your bind, taking your hands onto your waist, not your hips, just your waist, and then slowly, slowly, slowly coming up. How you doing? Okay, and so we're already standing up. Okay, so,
Where's we at?
yep, and so we're right there. Mm-hmm. And so now, taking your feet about hip width distance, you ready? Okay, so with your feet hip width distance, we're going to go into gorilla pose. And so again, just, yes, the gorilla pose. And so, so bend your knees deeply and take your hands all the way underneath and try to step on your wrists as much as you can. And then bend your knees, inhale, look up, pull up. And then as you exhale, now you want to straighten those legs and take a lot of weight into the front ball mounts of your feet to where it feels like you're kind of getting a little unstable. Yep. And so you're getting that push-pull, again, our yin-yang, straightening your legs and then just trying to lean forward. Some people might sway side to side. So kind of like this, just kind of like stepping, because we never really get a counterbalance pose on our wrists too. So this is really nice to kind of get a little wrist and hand massage. And see, his feet are off the ground. He's standing completely into his hands. So that is definitely more advanced. That's the goal, is where we're trying to get, but it's a lot harder than it looks. So, because yeah, you're basically standing on your hands and you could go face first. So, but it's that push-pull that we're always fighting with in yoga that helps us balance and do that. Very, very nice. And so bending your knees deeply and then slowly removing your hands. Again, taking your hands to your waist and then flat back, slowly, slowly, slowly coming up. So you want to take your time coming up from those, because so anytime we get our head below our heart, our nervous system starts to get a little crazy, and so
blood.
And so let's see here, which one am I missing?
The gorilla, monkey, ape, tiger, lion. I had never heard of that one. Or maybe I just didn't know the name.
Yeah, because some people use the Sanskrit name, and I don't use Sanskrit. Okay, so now we're going to go into kind of more of a balancing postures, and so again, so we always want to root. So it's all about kind of rooting. So we're rooting our body down, engaging our core. So pulling in our bandha locks. So our bandha locks are from here to here. So we're engaging that, and then our Uddiyana Bandha is underneath. We're pulling that in, engaging that core. So we're activating our bandhas, engaging our cores, kind of hugging on the midline, pressing your heels down, act like you're squeezing your legs together, and then act like you're trying to grip your mat, and then lift your toes, but your feet are still grounded. And so taking all of that power over to your left leg, take your right knee up.
Toes off the ground, just left foot?
No, you can leave them down. So no, you need your
That's
toes.
very long. Toes.
Yeah, no, yeah, you need your toes now because now your toes are like your fingers when you're balancing. And then when you're doing handstand, your fingers are like your toes. Yep.
So ground into the floor.
So it's like you're pressing down to lift. And then take your hand on your knee and take your knee out to the side.
Okay.
And you want to keep that foot flexed. And so he's kind of trying to open up in the hips. And so you want to do like a little pelvic thrust. And then you want to cue them to take their woo man down.
Alright. Okay, show me the pelvic thrust that I gotta do first.
So it's like,
Is this a pelvic thrust right here?
so yeah, so you're kind of pulling it forward and pressing everything down.
Okay.
And so you're engaging your locks. Remember, you're like sucking your chocolate shake through the. So
Okay.
remember, okay, so they do this. We'll do this for the camera. So taking your thumbs into your belly button and then just kind of doing this to your belly button. Yeah. So thumbs in your belly button.
Oh,
Yes, and then so there's a muscle right there. So press on that muscle.
Legs.
No, you're.
Oh, okay.
So it's like right above your pubic bone.
Okay.
And so engage that muscle. Engage it. So squeeze it.
Okay.
So you know how, okay, press on it and it'll make you engage it.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
And then you want to kind of act like you've got a straw in your booty hole. And you're trying to suck a chocolate shake through it. And so you're trying to lift all that up as you're engaging, and then you're hugging your midline, that's your core. Yes. Wonderful. And then taking that leg out to the side, and then slowly taking your gaze over your left shoulder. And very slowly, yes. So anytime we take our gaze in another direction, it throws our balance off, and that's kind of why we do it. Yoga is a right brain workout, which is why we progress quicker in yoga than we do in any other practice. Because we actually have to think and pay attention and focus and connect the mind to the body in order to hold these kind of poses. And so a lot of times we call it our drishti, our gazing spot. It's just right there in my hand. Yeah, it's just perfect. Like, what do I do with my hands right now? And so if you slowly, just slowly, you know, to find a focal point slow, find a focal point as you turn, you won't lose your balance as quickly. And then inhale back to center. Arms above your head. And then straighten out your leg and hold for 3. Lift higher, 2, and 1, pull your knee in. And so I always have people try to pull it in as much as they can. And then see where it goes when they flip it off. So pull it in as tight as you can, and then like try to bounce it, but leave your leg where it is.
What do you mean?
So if I have it here, and I'm trying to, where's my balance? All right, hold on. So here, and then I'm pulling it in, and if I snap it back, my leg should stay, it shouldn't drop. Yeah, so see how it dropped a little bit?
Yeah.
And so that's hip flexors.
Okay.
So that means we just gotta work on the hip flexors a little bit, but yours are great because your leg is high. Most people's leg is down here and they're struggling. And then they wanna lean back, so you don't want your students leaning back in that either. So it's here. Yes, and then from there, straighten out your leg one more time. I'm thinking we need to work on your balancing series.
Yeah.
So, let's, you want to switch sides? So taking your left leg up, right, left hand on your left knee, and then taking that knee out to the side, and very slowly taking your gaze over your right shoulder. And then coming back to center, hands up over your head, and straighten out your leg and hold for 3. Lift higher, 2, And 1, pull it in. And try to spring it out. Good. And then straighten out your leg and hold for 3, 2, and 1. Good job. Can you feel it? Yes, so that one is really good for hip flexors. And so that's something I have a lot of my athletes do is that test, because if your leg pops down, it just means you got a little bit of weakness in your hip flexors. But and so we don't want weakness anywhere, because when we're weak here, we're having to compensate somewhere else for it.
Okay.
So so go ahead and take your right foot on the inside of your thigh, pressing your heel into your thigh into your heel. We got the crunch. Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that?
Okay. What do I do with my hands?
And so your hands are prayer center. And so try to pull your pelvis forward a little bit. And try to get because you really want to try to get your hips level, because this is an asymmetrical stretch.
Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so you're really pressing, and then you want to interlace your hands in front of you. And then you're slowly going to take your hands up and over. And then again, slowly taking your gaze up towards the ceiling. And grow your tree. And follow your tree. I like when I'm getting ready, I'll have like a heel on, and I'm just like putting the heels on and just completely standing there balancing, and everybody's looking at me. I'm just like getting ready and like paint my toes. And so a lot of times you really don't necessarily want it on the knee, but there's nothing you can really damage by pushing on it. A lot of yoga studios will say, it's bad because it's that pressure against the knee. I don't have an ACL in this knee, and my MCL is sprained. And those are from ski accidents. And it doesn't bother my knee to have it either place. So wherever they can get it is fine. It's not going to affect their knee. Ultimately, you want it above the knee or below the knee, but we're not gonna fuss too much. Very good. Now close your eyes. Woo! Very good. I fall immediately when I close my eyes. All right. So go ahead and come down onto your mat.
Okay. My butt.
Yep, on your booty. All right, and so now we're working towards our ground series. And so go ahead and come all the way onto your back. And then you're going to tuck your heels to your butt. And then interlace your hands underneath you. Try to walk your shoulders up underneath your back. Yes. And so again, you don't want so see how his knees are kind of going past his ankles? We don't want that, so we want them stacked. So just take your toes a little bit further up. Yeah, good. Because we want to make sure we're never compromising the joints, ever. We want them stacked, that's where they're strong. And then press your body all the way up, trying to take your chest to your chin, not your chin to your chest. Yes. And so with each inhale and exhale, trying to lift higher. And so I always notice in this pose, everybody tries to suck in. And so you want big belly breaths. And so yes, perfect. So in and out. So when you inhale, your belly should rise, and when you exhale, your belly should fall. And then slowly reach your arms up and over, fingertips facing forward. And so, yep. Wheel. Winner, chicken dinner. And so press up onto your top of your head. So I always tell everybody can get here. Everybody should be able to get here. So never give up on your students. So at least try to get them there, but obviously don't take your neck so far back. Yeah, just come up onto the top of your head where it's not like cranking back. Now pressing all the way up into your full expression of wheel.
Okay, hold on. I need
you do that.
Okay, so hands under.
Yeah, or you can just go straight
Oh,
into.
go straight. How are my shoulders? Are they level?
Yep. Yep. And so you want to just, when you're going up, yeah, you want to kind of come up like that. And then you're pressing up. Yes. Woo! And so try to come a little bit more this way, yeah, because you want to try to come through the arms as well. And so see how he's got his legs pretty much together. His knees are forward. They're not splaying out to the side. And then so go ahead and lower down for me. Tuck your chin. Yeah, and lower down. Good job. Yes. And then roll out your wrists. Good job. Good job. And so just showing a little bit of a difference in the pose. So from Will, huh?
That's a big Will. This is a little.
Yeah, right. Okay.
This would be funny.
All right, you ready? And then I'm gonna go into a full expression of Will. So just seeing how the different wheels look, because you're ultimately trying to pull your chest through your arms and straighten your legs. And then just going into different modes. Maybe you come down and tap your forehead on the ground.
You got it.
You tapping on me?
You're four, so up in wheel and your head touches the ground. Well,
My forehead.
Maybe it's so hard because of my fucking arms. Like, you know? Let's try. So are my hands supposed to be here or kind of out?
Because ultimately what you're trying to do, so watch me and Will real quick, is you're trying to pull your
So they
chest
are
through
right
your
under
arms.
your shoulders.
Okay. And so see how my chest is down through my arms?
Yeah.
Like that?
And then I
And
didn't
then-
touch your head. Ouch. Ouch. Okay. Think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't think about it.
Right there.
Yeah, and then you're trying to kind of walk your chest through your arms this way. Yeah.
Okay.
Nailed it. And then tuck your chin. Yeah, good job.
Going down.
Going down. Very, very good. And so just walking your arms underneath your back, and then just start taking your hips up over your
I used
shoulders.
to do this in my bed as a kid. Oh, it was so cool.
No, and this
I
is
could
so
do
good. So this is what we call the yoga gas station. So this actually helps when you're tired to get into this pose. But you definitely want to cue, just stay looking at the toes and not turning your head side to side once you're in this pose. And ultimately you're trying to stack your hips up over your shoulders. And then again, deep belly breath here. So I tell people, you should look about 6 months pregnant. Because your belly should be coming out. And then slowly hinging at the hips, taking your legs forward to plow. And you'll try to come onto the tops of your toenails. And so,
Where are you going?
where you going? Don't make me. Yeah, so top of your toes, yeah, perfect. And so a lot of people cannot get here, so that's awesome that he's there. If so, sometimes you can take the blocks until they can start reaching there. I don't really like to use blocks, but anyway. And then slowly take your knees to your ears for ear pressure pose. Yes. And then interlace your hands behind you. And so this is a plow and then ear pressure pose. And then use your hands as brakes back behind you and then slowly lowering down vertebrae by vertebrae. Woo! I heard that. You all right? Whoa! Nice. And then hugging your knees, give me 3 rock and rolls.
Is it forward and backwards?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, perfect. And then on your third one, just sloppy fold over your legs.
to the right,
And
to the
so,
left?
yep, so come up.
Okay.
And then straighten your legs out, and then floppy fold over your legs, yeah. And so not trying to get anywhere, you're just trying to relax and let gravity kind of take your body down. We always try to do a counterbalance pose. Any pose that we're doing, we try to counter each pose. So just taking a few breaths here. And then slowly come onto your knees. onto your mat.
Pause, Miss Bridget. You see that green stuff on the ground?
Yeah.
Do not go outside, because then I will lose you on here.
You?
Okay. And then interlace your hands in front of you. You know what time it is.
Oh, okay. That time? Okay.
And so headstand is a pose I teach in every class, a beginner's class all the way up through advanced. So if it's taught correctly, you can get up into it pretty quickly. If it's not, you can never get up into it. I practiced for 10 years and never got into headstand, and then had one good teacher and got up into it. So so cueing is everything in headstand. So he's going to interlace his hands in front of him, and then he's going to cup his head in his hands, but and he's going to take the hairline, like right where his beautiful hairline is, right in front of his pinky onto the mat. And so when you actually come up into a headstand, you're not actually on the top of your head, you're between your forehead and your head. So you're like right there on, what would that be, like the crown or like the, so, and then he's gonna squeeze his head together, like with his hands, but his head is not in his hands, like his head is not gonna go into his hands, his hands are just holding his head together. And then, so, come into downward facing dog, legs, don't leave your hands there, and come into down dog legs. And so you want to make sure that their elbows are not coming, like winging out to the side, that preferably they're directly over their elbow, just depending on how big they are. And then you want to start cueing them to walk forward. And because you want to try to get your hips up over your shoulders. Get your butt back down here. Hold on, Mr. Show Off, can we do a tutorial, please? And so try to come, so I want your hairline right here. This, right here in front of your pinkies. Nope.
What?
This, here. So, because when your head actually.
Like here?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. And then as you come up, then you'll come more onto the top of your head. You want your head touching the mat, and your hands are just squeezing your head. Now slowly start to walk your feet forward, and he's trying to get so far forward that his hips come up over his shoulders. And so maybe he'll take one knee in and hold it. Maybe he'll take both knees in, and then if they can, then he can slowly start to take his legs up, very slowly, and then slowly start to take your legs back further than you think. Not back. Good job. Very nice. And so we're trying to get everything really stacked. Go ahead and come down. Woo! Good job. Check you out. How you doing? And so just a couple of things there. Everybody's going to look different in every pose, which is why I love that we're doing this today. So because of that, what we would sometimes think that doesn't look right, or it looks scary, or it's just their body, how it goes. Because normally you don't want their arms way out here, but his arms are so long that they kind of have to be. Because normally I want to cue where your elbow is directly under your shoulder, and so everything's always stacked. And then we're working on our rotator muscles. So I always tell them, cue pressing into your mat to where you're kind of hollowing out the back, and so you get that feeling, because that's what we're doing in headstand. So we're pressing down, our head goes right in front of our fingertips, my head is touching the ground, but when I come up, I'm only going to have about 10 pounds of pressure on my head, because most of it's going to be pressing into my hands and my elbows. And then that's where you'll start walking up, and so you really want the hips up over, and you don't want your students to kick. And so we really want to try to cue them taking one knee in and the other, because if they don't have the stability to do this, they shouldn't try to go up. And then they'll slowly take the legs up, and then most people will have their legs forward, and so it's killing their core by the time they get up. And so you really want to try to take those legs back, and get everything stacked. And then it's really, really simple to sit in the headstand. Yeah, buddy. And then to come out, you'll just slowly roll it. Yeah. Very, very nice. And then for the hardest pose of the evening, we're going to go ahead and have you lay on your back. A very, very important pose that should never be skipped, Shavasana. So this gives us a time to not only absorb our practice, but it gives us a time to kind of reset and kind of just quiet the mind for a second. This is such an important thing that, like, Google is now starting to recognize. They have their employees take naps, like 20-minute naps, a couple times throughout the day. I know yoga studios are now offering like Shavasana classes where you just come and basically sit in corpse pose and just quiet the mind and not have just chaos going around you all the time. So when we can take that time to do this, our brain can start working a little bit better. All those things kind of just start becoming a little easier when we have the time to quiet the mind. So that's why Shavasana is so, so important. And then what you do and say in Shavasana is super important too, because they're super hyper aware of their body and mind after a yoga practice, and their heart is open. So you want to make sure that it's very relaxing, whatever you do at the end of class. I always put a cold rag with a little bit of essential oil on everybody's head, just to kind of cool them down and just, let them really relax. And just, I would tell them, allow your body to be as heavy as it can in the mat. You're just dropping everything, noticing the spots on the mat that might be touching more than others. Don't try to fix it, just notice it. Just trying to empty out the mind. If something comes to you, which it will, thoughts are just gonna come. Just recognize it as important or not and swipe it away, but try to give your mind and your body this time to just be and absorb your practice. So very, very important. And you can always see new yogis because they're like looking around, they're like, what are we doing laying here? I remember that was the most stressful pose for me in yoga. So I was just kind of constantly looking around going, why are we laying here? I've got stuff to do. And I was just doing that. So that's what we're trying to break, is that habit. So I usually keep people in this for about 5 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, just depending on who it is. And let's see, another thing I always like to mention is that we're human beings, we're not thinking beings. So we're not meant to think the 400,000 thoughts a day that we do. And we only get so many thoughts. So I always tell people, if it's something that's not important, then I don't want to know, because I don't want to rent the headspace for that. So, because we only get so much up there. But we're always trying to work more on, building more now that we know that we can use more of our brain. I still haven't figured that out yet. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. And then, so some of the adjustments that you can do in Shavasana, a lot of times I'll come around to my students and grab them by the ankle and just kind of release their low back for them a little. Just kind of press and push. It makes them taller. See, it works every time. And then sometimes I'll just kind of pull on the tops of their feet. A lot of times in yoga, a lot of complaints I hear is the feet, the top of the feet, the bottom of the feet, and their shins hurt the most, and their hands. So I usually just kind of squeeze on the top of their feet. But most of the time you just want to let them just relax. And then I'll have them do a supine twist. So start to wiggle your fingers and toes. Starting to twist in the wrists and your ankles. And then reaching up over your head and kicking into your heels, squeezing every muscle in your body like you just woke up. Because sometimes some people do. And then pull your knees into your chest and just kind of roll around on your low back for a second. And then taking both knees over to your left side. And then leaving both shoulder blades down on your mat. Clawing your arm out to the side. So you want to kind of just get like a little claw thing going here. And then just, with your eyes closed, just turning your gaze towards your right hand. And this is a super good pose for digestion, but this is our supine twist. And so a lot of time people, believe it or not, are clenching in this pose. And so you kind of want to remind them to kind of let go of those things. Let go of their jaw, their neck, their shoulders. Maybe they're like still squeezing in their hip flexors. So we want to try to like let all of that go. And then slowly taking both legs over to the right side, taking your gaze over your left shoulder blade. Very nice. Again, just cueing again for them just to kind of release, relax, and let go. We always want to have control over everything. And then slowly come onto your right side in a fetal position in a pose of gratitude. So something in yoga is we always want to be gratitude. We always want to have so much gratitude and be thankful that we took the time for us. And be grateful that we're here on our mat, because we don't know what it took for everybody in that room to make it to that yoga class and make it to their mat. And so, just being grateful that you did this for yourself. Because you either take the time now to be healthy and feel good, or you take the time later to be sick. So just remembering to be loving to yourself. And then slowly coming up to a seated position with your eyes closed. Got no towel. You're like, where's my towel? And so we always finish our class with a balancing breath. And so with our middle finger on the bridge of our nose, because we're trying to extend our inhales and exhales, because we want to be down to about 6 breaths per minute just on our average day. So this helps the yogis to kind of extend the breath. And so our mouth is for eating and our nose is for breathing. And so for that reason, we inhale through our nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Plug your nose and hold for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Plug your nose and hold for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Plug your nose and hold for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Plug your nose and hold for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Last time. Inhale, really find some space in your body, some pockets that might be missing. Plug your nose and hold. Slowly starting to exhale for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Again, finding those pockets that are in there, press them out, plug your nose and hold. Allow your body to be uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. Release. Take your left hand to your heart and your right hand to your belly. Trying to notice and feel where your breath comes from. Just like we need to connect with humans, we need to connect with ourselves. And this kind of it's like a circle of energy. So we take our palm over our belly button and our hand to our heart. And it just helps us connect some energies in our body. Very good. And just remember to breathe less and bend more. Good job.